Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, we have got something a little different. So, in the past, we've talked a little bit about this, but in the past 2 months, we've really only touched on things that are completely modern. Yes. That are completely either happening now or happened just not long ago.
Being very up to date on stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is where we completely change that. So we are covering Season 1 of the animated show Star Wars Resistance. There is only 2 seasons, and it is discontinued, as far as we know of.
Yeah, there's rumors of a 3rd season, but it's looking unlikely.
Yes. And this is different for us than most reviews we're going to do, because this is a complete blind watch. We didn't watch any of this in advance of watching it together.
And I know nothing.
We knew nothing of what was going to happen. All we knew is the animation style was different than the Clone Wars and and Rebels, which are the 2 animated shows that are kind of the spiritual predecessors of it, but not connected. They all fill in holes in certain spots in the Star Wars.
The animation
franchise.
in those are clearly a lot closer than this. This
so
is a bit out
We're
there.
gonna break it down. We're gonna start obviously as we normally do, without spoilers.
Like brighter, closer to almost like an anime.
Yes.
In that
So
sense, yeah.
here's what we're gonna talk about first. Without spoilers. So this will take place between episodes 6 and 7. And it's.
Do you want to say how long before?
No. It's funny. It's hard to pinpoint certain times, and other times it is very easy to pinpoint. But I can't really get into it too much. Which is interesting because it occupies a time that is often seen as the real last good hurrah for Star Wars, because a lot of people have a lot of problems with the sequels. And I'm not going to say that watching this you won't see those same problems. You will see the same type of problems.
But they're not really avoidable.
But yeah, they're unavoidable. But in this series, they do really try their best, and I do implore you, please do give this series a chance. Yes. I'm going to be honest, its worst 3 episodes are probably its first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And its best episodes are as it goes along. Its best episodes is the finale, by far.
Yeah, not
but,
even close.
And all I'll say is this, is once you figure out where this plot is going and what is the end game of Season 1, it becomes a lot more interesting. However, you will have to understand that this is a kid show in every word sense of the name.
More than the Clone Wars
and this isn't
Rebels.
Star Wars Rebels being half a kid show, so to speak, and half not a kid show, or Star Wars The Clone Wars, which is masquerading as a kid show.
Yeah.
And has like a 3-minute montage of just death. No, this is not that movie. This is not that TV show.
Yep.
So it is a lighter tone. And honestly, I feel like it doesn't take away a lot from this, because the whole dynamic of the Empire is gone type thing works with the idea that it can be a lighter tone.
Yep. And one thing I will like to say is that one of the biggest concerns that I had going into watching this before seeing the whole season, before even seeing a single episode, is that animation style was a complete turn-off for me. As opposed to stuff that I was used to.
You adapt to it.
You get used to it. You get used to it pretty quickly.
Yes. And honestly, it doesn't take away a lot, because
it really doesn't.
The thing is the first 3 episodes, there's not a lot of darker textures. So you kind of, in your head, you're like, ugh. But once you get past that, and the dialogue is not great at the beginning, but it's designed because of the characters involved.
And it's also...
And it becomes more justified.
And it's more of a kid's show. The dialogue is a little bit simpler.
Mm-hmm.
And as
it progresses, it gets more settled.
Yes.
So, honestly, I think that's what we're going to stop. We're going to stop with the non-spoiler talk.
Please like, share, and subscribe
for all
see it.
And so please go, and if you either want to watch it, go watch it, if you haven't already. But if you don't want to watch it, or you've seen it already, stick around, because we are going to start talking about the spoiler talk now. And this is your spoiler warning.
All right, if you're
We're giving you time. because you can't hear. If the closed caption hasn't come up, okay, they've had enough time. So, what did we think of this? So, what do you want to talk about first with this series? So, I'm going to first say it. We both like this, actually.
It's quite good.
It's good, and there is, and yes, and don't get me wrong, we are by design very optimistic people. Like, we're not usually too critical of things, but this is coming from two people that we don't necessarily like the sequels, but we don't hate them. We don't hate 2/3 of them.
They are my least favorite of the 3 trilogies. I will say that.
It's not close.
It's really not.
It's not close. It's very disconnected. However, this series, Battlefront 2, and what's the other thing? What's the other thing that takes place in this time zone? And The Mandalorian seem like they're trying to give us a very nice sheltered life. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to really help the transition period there.
Because the big issue that everybody has with the sequel trilogy, and especially the start, because the whole reason that the whole issue is with how it starts for a lot of people is the way that it transitions to the Empire, to the New Republic, and seemingly back into the Empire, basically.
Like you pretty much did. It's kind of like how people got mad at Game of Thrones, and I haven't seen Game of Thrones.
I don't know jack shit.
But apparently, from what I've heard, one of the main dudes in Game of Thrones, after all of that, just goes back to his regular job that he started the series with.
Sounds like
so he did all of it for no game.
That sounds like
you know what I mean, though? He does it all for no game, so it feels cheap.
Do you see what I mean, though?
Yes, I do.
But one thing I absolutely will like to say is that we were okay with the first few episodes.
We get annoyed at times, but that's because we know that we're in a kids show and we want to see them take risks, and sometimes you don't get those risks.
Yeah. And
actually, I don't even need to be coy about it now.
But you can tell that as the season went on, my man Dave Filoni
stepped up.
Dave Filoni,
let's really get into it now. Okay?
So let's go to individual characters.
Do you want to go to characters, or do you want to go to? Okay, yeah, we can start with characters.
Although we'll start with our main crew.
We'll really So first off, Kaz. So here's the thing: Kaz is in the category of Ahsoka Tano and
Ahsoka as
Ezra.
at the start of Ahsoka.
Yes, because they're the main character they're introducing here. Now Kaz, I like Kaz at the end of the series infinitely more than I like him at the start.
And you know what?
And it's funny because
at the start of the season,
you hate him.
You hate him, and the thing is that you take pleasure in seeing
every
him
time
fail.
he gets hit in the face. It's absolutely hilarious, and he gets hit in the face a lot.
But one thing I would like to say, not about Kaz, absolutely love Niku.
Niku,
awesome.
I don't know what creature he is, but Niku is his friend. He reminds me a lot of K2SO.
Very much.
He's a K2SO, but
holy shit, I didn't even think of that.
But not a buff. But he's not a droid. He's a very lanky-ish creature that is obviously appealing because of the art style they're doing. But Niku is amazing because he's that guy that would definitely celebrate Empire Day.
Yeah. I was the one who said
you told me this.
Yes.
You're like, honestly, Niku...
If you know anything about Star Wars
Niku
Rebels,
would give into the propaganda, but not the hate
this
part.
Guy,
He'd just be like, yay!
This guy will be happy about absolutely anything. I swear.
Yes, and it's really good. I think that this show realizes what the sequel trilogy missed. If you truly want to integrate the future of characters in for us, you need to give them a basis in something in the past. And this is what I mean. I love that Yeager is a former Rebel pilot. Yeager is a former Rebel pilot who's kind of like the mentor to Kaz.
Yep.
Yes, but the perfect thing, and I called this, and Carter wasn't sure on this, and I said. And the dude who runs
I remember this.
The main garrison.
Maybe I'm not sure.
It's kind of like a floating
Colossus.
Fortress. Colossus.
It's very similar.
It's a floating fortress, which turns out to be a spaceship at the end. It's amazing.
What it looks like is like an ocean oil rig, basically, kind of with the way it's elevated.
Until the ocean oil rig comes up, and you're like, "Holy shit! That was a big drill under there."
Yeah.
But like, Doza, Captain Doza. like the dude who's in charge of monitoring the garrison, which is Imperial garrison. So that should have set some red flags right away, which you can tell based on the designs, which is actually really appealing to look.
We all have to talk about, so.
Which is really appealing to look at. Doza is a former Imperial officer, and the second Kaz sneaks into his room and opens and goes into the closet, sees the Imperial Guard, we literally, I was like, yes! Let's go! Let's go! Because I love the Imperials. I love what they represent because they represent something so bad, but something that's so elegant.
I've never seen anybody in my life more obsessed with the admirals.
Well, they're gonna think I'm a racist now. Okay, yeah, admirals. But like, I love seeing
Thrawn's one of my
I
favorites.
love seeing the
He's a
hierarchy.
blue man.
I love seeing the hierarchy of the villains and the hierarchy of the heroes
Petition to
as
put
well.
Thrawn in Blue Man Group.
Yeah. Okay, and honestly, that's the thing. Tam. This was the moment that me and you lost our shit. So in the finale, there's an agent.
Going up to that, one thing I love is that when the First Order first kind of comes in,
Yeah.
we love the absolute tension of like how because her dad worked in a factory for the Empire, it was providing because people need to remember as much as
a lot of these characters have pasts with it.
And yeah, as much as the Empire was evil, there were worlds that absolutely flourished.
Love them.
Often there were worlds that were.
I'm not going to get into this finale. Actually, I won't talk about that. But I will say this: Tam.
You could see
so
the
well.
tension.
The seeds are getting sown there for her the entire season.
The character development
being ignored.
in this show is very, very good.
She never got to fly a plane the entire show.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I love their use
that's gotta be intentional.
I love how they have the starfighter races are a really good side thing to kind of distract you a little bit at times.
And it kind of reminds me a little bit of the pod racing and the culture around that.
And the Colossus is a good starting point. It is a lot like the Lothal of Rebels. Or the Coruscant of Clone Wars, but not as much.
What's the actual name of the planet? What?
I think it's just Coliseum. It might be Coliseum actually.
So Coliseum.
Yeah. But anyway,
the Colossus.
I do love the fact that a lot of these characters we see a lot of growth. The only characters that I kind of don't like, I'm gonna be brutally honest here. I don't care for the kids. It's a dick move. The two kids that escaped the First Order, and here's the problem. I don't hate these kids, but these kids. Every time they're involved in the story, I know the story has to really go into kid show mode. And what that means is nothing bad is ever going to happen to these kids because you can't have anything bad happen.
One issue I do have with the kids is it's one of those things where they have the episode where it's like they're running away. And that's fine. But once that episode's done, they have really no reason to be there.
Although they don't have anywhere to go.
They don't have anywhere to go, but they're kind of just there.
Yeah, like you don't use them in a good-ish way. Like sometimes you'll have them talking.
There's no more actual usage to them as characters. They're just there.
Having them live with the turtles, though, is decent.
I love the turtles.
Those turtles people are decent. I will say though, but this is the part that really. Actually, no. Let's mention Poe Dameron is in this, and Poe Dameron has done very well.
Still voiced by Oscar Isaac.
Yes,
I love that.
Actually, and he's not the only one that came back from the movies when voicing their character. Gwendolyn Christie voices Captain Phasma.
Yes.
Only in the first season, I heard though. They get someone to redub it in the second.
Well, they probably find someone who can do pretty close.
Also, a little more affordable.
Yeah.
Gwendolyn goddamn Christie.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, post time there, it's funny. I made this joke to Carter. I'm like, why does BB-8 like Poe? Poe leaves BB-8 for the first half of the season on this fucking ship. With
and in episode 7.
The entire time. Like, for half a season until we switch into, like, I just call him Blue Bitch, but, like, they call him a blue ball, blue and red ball.
RC-23 or whatever?
No. Like it's CB. Because remember the joke I made? I'm not going to say it. Remember what it sounds like if you sound it out? CB?
Oh.
Because he's not the main one? Yeah. But anyway, no, I like... The best part of this, though, is once we delve into the First Order. Because the First Order is... Because here's the thing. The First Order in the sequel trilogy look like incompetent fools. Worse than the Empire. The Empire won battles. Empire Strikes Back was a movie dedicated to the Empire being good at their job.
Here's my question for you and anybody watching. Name all the battles you've seen the First Order battle the Resistance in, and the First Order have won.
I guess they kind of beat in Crate?
No, they escaped.
Yeah, but the Rebels escaped on Hoth.
Okay, that's sort of fair, yeah.
I will say, though, less people probably died in Crate than they did on Hoth. Like, we saw the bodies and snow speeders go down.
Yeah.
And also, in the first battle, there's only two ships that make it out of the Battle of Yavin 4.
Yeah, I mean...
Wedge in that, and I don't count Han because he's a third party.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you could say the battle of the who can run out of fuel first.
Okay, so that is a bit of a problem, though. Not a lot of... I hate to say it's not a problem, but a lot of the heroes here are very invulnerable. There's one time where we thought we lost Bucket, and I was like, okay, we're going in the right direction. I was traumatized that it happened. Bucket, by the way, amazing design. But Bucket lives, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And I love how they repair him, but they still don't give him his shot.
Bucket is literally C-3PO if he didn't have his skin. It's like the version or not C-3, or R2-D2 without his skin. It's like the version of C-3PO in Episode 1.
Because his head is like the R2-D2 swamp head.
Yes. So, like, the First Order people that they have...
Let's talk about the First Order now,
Okay. So, first off, I think the first person we should name is... Vonreg. Major Vonreg has an awesome design.
Awesome.
He's a red
ship.
He's like a red TIE fighter thing, but his helmet is different. It's got like a black top on it.
Well, that's actually what the First Order TIE pilots have. They have the top visor.
But it's different colored, and his TIE fighter is a sick red. It's like a TIE Interceptor red.
Sick red TIE Interceptor. I dig it.
Okay, so here's the thing about Vonreg. It's funny, I guessed wrong. I thought Commander Pyre was going to bite the dust at the end of Season 1. Vonreg dies at the end of Season 1.
I thought they were going to keep both of them.
I thought Pyre was done. I thought Pyre was dying in Doza's office.
And now one thing I would like to say, and the reason being, is that Pyre, when you're the person who you got all the control, if everything starts going south, you're the one who's in the most in trouble. Because other people can sneak out.
Carter,
but you're the main...
I don't think people are making it out of this show from the First Order side. I don't think a lot of people are ever going to make it. I don't, because here's the thing.
girl that takes Tam, maybe.
I don't think she's making it out.
You don't think so?
No.
Do you think, like, Tam's got to turn on her or something?
No. I just don't think she makes it out.
I
got a bad feeling. Here's my problem. There's no plans after Rise of Skywalker, and we see literally every single ship in their fleet blow up. Yeah. So I think they're just tying up all loose ends before.
One thing that we should talk about is that in Episode 9, similar to the way in Episode 6, there's still a First Order remnant.
Not a lot of it, though.
Well, to be fair,
all of the ships were side by side.
The Final Order ships were side by side.
Okay, but the First Order doesn't really establish themselves as a very... Actually, this is the thing I love. The First Order is not OP in this.
It's
but that's also like I wanted balance and I got balance. You get balance. The way the First Order takes control of the Colossus is brilliant. I love how the pirates were incorporated in this season because the pirates represent a very manipulative. First off, all of their armor is former Imperial-ish decked out armor, which I love. Kragan is a great boss. He's a Corrin, and he looks sick.
Yeah. He's Corrin. He's Corrin, so he must be a villain.
So Sonara's not bad. Sonara isn't the best character on the show, but she's not. I don't hate her.
She looks like almost like Pantoran.
Mm-hmm.
Like the blue people.
Yeah, you're right on that one. But she's purple.
I
like the ace pilots, especially that TIE fighter. Even though he's the guy who always gets shot. He's always the guy
he got shot down how many times?
Phazon is hilarious, is really funny actually.
The
Mama,
Rodian?
Yeah, what's that auntie?
You're talking about
the cantina lady's good.
The bartender.
The dude who cleans the floors is hilarious.
Oh,
because everything bad
head.
happens to him.
I'm
not gonna I don't mean to assume, but you know what? I think it's a gay couple that work in that hardware store.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
They're totally a gay couple, and I'm totally cool with that, and I love that because I love the fact that they didn't. There's not a single discriminatory thing about it. They don't overly state it. It's just there.
Yep.
It's just, and that is the perfect way to incorporate stuff like that. Don't make a big deal out of it, but just show how it is socially acceptable there.
Yep.
Especially in a place like the Colossus, which it should be, because it is an inclusive place.
Well, until the First Order show up.
Yes. How the First Order take over is great because they use the pirates as the scapegoats.
Yeah, they do exactly the same thing that the Death Watch did to take control of Mandalore.
Yes, that's
They do
it.
the same thing. They say, "Hey, we need you to do this sort of thing. We'll give you a crap ton of money and whatnot."
But unlike that, they legitimately betray the pirates.
Oh yeah.
They start shooting on the pirates, and
Yep.
I was like, it's funny because when they were handing it over to the pirates, and I love the way that they use their plot twists in this because they make you think that they're just gonna use her for ransom. No. They're saving her.
Yeah, they're gonna
Von Rig is a great ace. I love how elegant he is. He's a typical Imperial design type thing of how he's
lots of class.
I like the diversity in Pyre, though. Pyre is a gold stormtrooper with a... What's that on the side? Pauldron.
Black Pauldron.
He's Commander Pyre, and first off, great name. Especially when you give it a Y. But, I love the diversity of him because he's just more intimidating in terms of how he speaks. He's a lot more angry.
Yes, he
in
is.
his approach, especially when you compare him
which
to
is
Agent
why
Terrari.
Terrari? Yeah. Or something... it's like tyranny or something.
Tyranny, something like that.
Yeah, anyways, but that's why we thought Pyre was going to be the one to fall, because he shows a bit more
angry.
He shows a bit more emotion than Von Reg does. Von Reg seems to be a lot more cool and collected.
The way they kill Von Rig, though, is kind of smart, because at least it's not a punk way.
But they don't even give him a line of dialogue when he's about to die. Like, at least in some sort of stuff,
we don't actually ever see...
It's like, I'm gonna kill you, and then, something comes in, and then he dies, and then whatever. But it's just him just...
Yeah, that being said...
Bang, he's dead.
I will say this, though. We never see his face. That being said, though, that does open the door. It was a little... I think, though, that means that we're getting more First Order next season. Otherwise, it would have been a little too crowded with him kicking around.
Well, also, a good thing about not showing a character's face is if they ever decide, for some reason, to do something closer to the sequel trilogy in terms of a live-action thing... Mm-hmm. You just need to find someone with a similar voice, and you could literally have anybody.
Yeah.
You can have anybody. Because they never show his face.
So, Captain Phasma, we don't see a lot of, but she's good. She's good when we see her.
Yeah.
That scene
I do want to see her
when
a bit more.
When they go over to an abandoned First Order thing, but it's not abandoned, and she's leading the Stormtroopers there. She's a little incompetent, yes, but I love the way it's done. There's certain shots that look visually intimidating.
Yes.
There's a lot of Easter eggs around that we like.
One thing I would like to talk about is there's one mission where Kaz and Poe are both Poe's in his X-Wing and Kaz is in the Fireball. And they go to a place where the star is gone. And we already know what it is, but it's exciting to know that the Resistance, they had no idea.
Well, I like the idea, the thing that blew my mind, because I'm like, it still doesn't totally make sense, because I'm like, did just a weapons test? What the hell happened here? Now, let's be honest. We need to talk about that finale now, because we're at the 23-minute mark in the video. 24-minute mark. The finale was great, and honestly, the finale is... There's so many moments where I'm just like, oh my god. The best oh my god, of course, is when they're walking. Stormtroopers are walking, they're like, yeah, Starkiller base up and operational. And me and you were just like, yeah, of course it is. It can fly around now. No. Hux,
it overlaps with episode 7.
Hux is...
We had no idea about this.
Also, the ship that those four came back on, with Type Phazon, was from Maz Kanata's. So I wonder how quickly they left before Han and...
Are you sure it's Maz Kanata's? Because that's what they escaped on in the first one.
Yeah, they went to
Maz Kanata's. Because they went to Hakodana.
Yeah. So
I want to go back.
Honestly,
by the way, one thing I would like to say, I'd like to go back and check that scene to see if there actually any of the live action characters are. So.
But honestly, that's the thing. Like the second you realize they use the actual the library of Hux's speech word for word and use the thing he's talking through hologram and you're just like, oh, this is good. This is good. And then they show don't they show the firing?
Yes, they do.
And then the thing that we didn't, and it's funny because what gets said earlier in the season, you don't pick up on until you realize, oh no, that's that place. Hosnian Prime, I forgot was the one that blows up. Didn't you? Watch it, because remember they say that Kaz is from Hosnian Prime in that finale. Because it's not like it's a big deal, but it's just how they
adds more character depth.
And the moment he's standing there, he's watching the thing explode his entire family and stuff like that.
He's like watching his family get blown.
That is the best Kaz scene right there. Is when he loses everything.
To be fair, like he watches his entire family, everyone he knows from when he was growing up, everything get blown into a fucking oblivion in front of his eyes.
And that's how you really help build the character because it is
perfect.
No, it is though, because the thing is that we don't necessarily know that system, but we know someone who had that happen with Leia on Alderaan, and now
as of very recently, actually,
Cara Dune,
yes, with Alderaan.
but it really helps tie the character together. Now the one that we need also, Brooklyn is definitely going back.
Oh yeah.
I said this the moment
the
moment I saw a dude with white hair who got mad at Kaz because he didn't let him blow up. Because remember he's like, you cost me my ship, and I'm like, your ship was gonna blow up, dude, you idiot. The moment he stayed mad at him, I was just like, you are bad. You're gonna be bad, and I can't wait.
And I think we talked about the craziest thing from the finale. I think the second craziest thing was
Tam. Oh my god! So she holds out her hand.
First Order.
She holds out her hand, and the second Yeager comes to actually confront them, I'm like, I was telling Carter, I'm like, oh fuck, no. And they're holding their hand out. Then she takes it, and we just went, yes, yes, because you took a risk.
And it adds to it even more because Yeager said she made her choice.
Yes, we were a little worried that maybe she'd regretfully change it, or that they would use the destruction of Hosnian Prime. No. She's just straight up becoming that, and I'm like, yep.
Like I said, I was worried that Kaz or Yeager were gonna talk about how Hosnian Prime just got absolutely destroyed by this group, but I love the way how they show hints and
do you think we'll see more First Order? Like, do you think we'll see the big boss? Do you think we'll see the big boss?
Kylo Ren?
We might. This is Dave Filoni.
I think they will, at least a little.
Yeah, maybe a little.
They
might see a little more of General Hux.
Yeah, I could see a Hux.
Might see Pride. I'm not sure about Pride though, because Pride only gets mentioned in 9.
No, Pride doesn't show up till 9. And this show,
Kennedy?
This show came out before Episode 9
Maybe
came
Kennedy? Out. Oh, no, you can't, because 7 takes place right after, or 8 takes place right after 7. Kennedy dies in the beginning of 8.
Yes.
So you can't show Kennedy.
But also, like, Episode 9, the actual movie, came out after Season 2 in real world
So we don't know how big
So they would not have known that
I'm curious about the Pirates.
Exist.
Curious about the Pirates.
Yeah.
What their role in is this. Because it's
I
funny,
feel like
they show up just to almost get bodied.
And they are on the Colossus.
When
their ship went onto the Colossus. You saw
did
that,
it?
Right?
Oh,
during hyperspace, yeah.
When
so they're on the Colossus.
Where are we going? I don't know, Kaz. Really, Niku? You don't?
Well,
also,
to be fair, Dave Filoni is Dave Filoni, all right, boys, what planet do we want to put them on?
When that Star Destroyer comes out of hyperspace near the Colossus, I was like, oh my god! Like, no, this show does a lot right, and honestly, I think knowing how bad the sequel trilogy is helps it a lot, because you know that the bar isn't too high. This isn't fantastic, but honestly, I'm happy we watched it, and I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with it. Granted, I don't think this got as much publicity because a lot of it is because it's a bad timeline. It's not a good time spot.
People are the least interested in the sequel trilogy of the 3.
I can't wait to see what we get in season 2. We're not going to really like.
Because I mean,
We're not gonna like say too many theories because it's already out.
People get interested about Rebels and whatnot because it ties into the original movies, and people really get interested about Clone Wars, the Clone Wars, because there's so much shit going on at that point.
It's the only one that you can actually cover, but not between the trilogies. But
and I'd argue they could still do a ton more stuff if they wanted to, because there's so much stuff going on.
Because
in the
you
galaxy.
don't need a full time period of it necessarily.
There's
I will say though,
things going on at once.
I think this helps the legacy of the sequel trilogy.
Yep.
Here's the thing. You can't excuse Episode 8.
You can't.
You're going to need to write a lot.
Episode 8 is it's my least favorite episode of Star Wars in totality.
Yeah, honestly. There's so much that's
at least
wrong
the
with
story.
it. Let's not get into it here. We can get into it in a Last Jedi review, possibly. But, the thing is that...
Go through all the movies, actually.
Yes. I think this will help it because this series will help it. This series will not save it. There will still be issues, and that will always be present. But how you maneuver those issues, it does matter.
And there's a possibility that they in season 2 they can add more depth to even some existing characters.
Yes,
and whatnot.
Maybe, what they did for Poe Dameron in this series is more than what they did in the entirety of 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
And 9, you could tell they were trying a bit, but they only defined him as a pilot. And don't get me wrong, they only used him as they only really use him as a pilot as this, but they also use him as an operative, which really works well.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that the Resistance doesn't come to save them on the Colossus is a great touch because it shows that the Resistance, we're really embracing the fact that the Resistance is completely useless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but I think that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you if you've been watching this. Yeah. We really appreciate it, especially watching the C grade of this show, apparently. I would recommend this. However, I will say, though, if you're not really into animated shows, it's going to take a lot of adjusting, and if you're not into an animated show that's also a kid's show, that'll take you a lot more adjusting.
Worst case scenario, if you don't want to watch the show, at least
Google it. Just Google certain things. Google certain characters and find out where they go, where they are.
Stuff to at least know the storyline, because I think it is worth knowing.
Yeah, it's a tale worth telling, and I think it covers something that doesn't get too big for its britches, and covers it really well. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below if you've seen this, and tell us what you thought of it. As well as follow us on Instagram at Nolan Hockey Podcast, and we will see you next time. Next one is an episode of Nolan Hockey Podcast, episode 10, where we continue the rating of the Stanley Cup playoffs, starting with the second round and moving forward. We might not get it all, but we'll see. And yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.